The X-Files is a show that ran from 1993 to 2002 that ingrained itself into pop culture and gave us this amazing theme song. I had always known of its existence from a young age due to my relatives being a fan of the show. However, I hadn't properly gotten into it until the past couple of years. It centers around two FBI agents, Fox Spooky Mulder and Dana Scully, as they uncover various forms of supernatural and extraterrestrial life living on Earth. I'm not easily spooked by things, but when I was younger there was one concept in the X-Files that really used to weird me out, and I know I'm not the only one who felt this way. So what did I like about the X-Files? I liked how the two protagonists had good chemistry, but were also good foils for each other. Mulder being quick to jump to paranormal conclusions, and Scully being ever the skeptic. It explored well-known concepts that had already been established, yet also didn't shy away from original concepts or putting their own spin on things. The episode I'm going to be discussing in this video is one of the latter. If you haven't guessed already, the episode is Season 1, Episode 3, Squeeze, but we will also go into the follow-up episode in a future video. The episode opens with a businessman named George Usher walking to work. He is shown to be watched through a storm drain, and I think the voyeuristic shots that demonstrate this are quite effective. His pursuer follows him through the ventilation system, and he is attacked off-screen. His bloodied office is showed after. Scully is then met by her co-worker Tom Colton, who has arranged this meeting to discuss this murder case which actually now has 3 victims, but not before he insults some of their fellow agents, including Mulder. He tells Scully he is confused by the seeming lack of entry and removal of the victim's liver with the perpetrator's bare hands. Scully goes to Mulder for advice on the case, who discovers an elongated fingerprint on Usher's ventilation shaft, and points out that the nature of the murders being investigated are very similar to cases from 1903, 1933, and 1963, and predicts that because each of these cases had 5 victims, the culprit will try to claim 2 more. Scully profiles the killer and comes to the conclusion that he will probably return to the scene of the crime, and during a stakeout, they arrest a man named Eugene Victor Toombs, who they caught climbing through the ventilation system. They give him a polygraph test, which he passes, but when he is given questions by Mulder about the murders dating back to 1903, he fails them, yet the other agents refuse to make an arrest. Mulder digitally elongates Toombs' fingerprints to show Scully they match the elongated prints found at the crime scene, and that night, Toombs squeezes down a chimney and claims another victim. Not gonna lie, this choppy slow-motion camera work looks pretty goofy and dated now. I laughed when I rewatched this. Now believing Mulder, Scully accompanies him on investigating Toombs after shutting down Colton's passive aggression towards Mulder. They note that Toombs has taken something from the victim's mantelpiece as a trophy, and Scully later tells Mulder that Toombs' background is dodgy. Their investigation leads them to a man named Frank Biggs, a detective who investigated the 1933 and 1963 cases. He shows Mulder and Scully older photos of Toombs, who has not aged in 60 years, and gives them a piece of liver Toombs had left behind before telling them the address of the apartment where Toombs used to live. Mulder and Scully head there and find the trophies from the previous victims, as well as a nest in the basement, formed of newspaper and bile. Mulder theories that Toombs is a mutant who hibernates every 30 years, and the 5 livers he takes provide him with sustenance. Mulder and Scully decide to get back up, but don't realize that Toombs has already returned home and steals Scully's necklace as the next trophy. Unfortunately for them, they don't take Mulder seriously. And Colton argues with Scully about getting involved in the investigation with Mulder. Toombs is then seen stalking Scully, and not knowing that Colton has called off the stakeout, Mulder heads to Toombs' house and realizes that Scully is meant to be the next victim. Scully realizes this too and arms herself. In a well-timed jump scare, Toombs breaks through the ventilation shaft and attacks Scully, but before it's too late, Mulder saves her and they restrain Toombs. He is then seen in an institution for the criminally insane, building a new nest out of newspaper. Scully informs Mulder that medical tests have shown that Toombs has an abnormally flexible skeletal and muscular system and a rapidly declining metabolism, explaining his behavior. A prison worker gives Toombs his lunch through the food slot, but forgets to close it. Toombs notices and is seen grinning to himself before the episode ends. So what did I think of the episode after rewatching it? Honestly, I prefer episodes like this where they catch strange serial killers in comparison to the big bad aliens that the show is known for, though this is probably because I really like detective fiction. According to the book, The Truth Is Out There, the official guide to the X-Files, writers Glenn Morgan and James Wan based Toombs on serial killers Jack the Ripper and Richard Ramirez, which I can honestly see due to Toombs not being caught for almost a century, and his methods of breaking into his victims' houses at night. And if you ignore some of the sillier cinematography, I do think this is quite a strong episode, and Toombs is one of the most memorable villains in the X-Files canon in my opinion. I think the creepy performance and weird eye contacts definitely sell the character, and it sticks with people for a reason. In a 2008 The Star Online article, Montage Begum describes Squeeze as the episode that really sold the X-Files idea to the masses, turning it into a super hit TV show, and I have to agree with that. But what do you guys think? Have you seen the episode or not? Will you now watch it? What kind of things do you think were good about the episode, and what do you think could be improved? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, thanks for watching.